Hi, I'm Sarah D.
I'm Dr. D.
Welcome to an economic conversation. This is number 108, right?
I think so.
I think so. Number
Yeah,
108.
we did the gun one last
I
time.
know. I was a little nerd.
Yeah.
The purpose of this channel overall, the part that I do on my own and the part that we do together here, is to encourage goodwill to all. Right?
That's pretty exciting.
That's what we want. We
I
want
like the idea.
goodwill for you. We want goodwill for us. We want goodwill even for those who may seem like enemies or annoying.
Yeah.
Speaking of BJ's.
Ooh.
BJ's is not necessarily annoying, although when we went there, we were looking for a veggie tray. But we'll get to that.
We couldn't find it.
We couldn't find it.
We're too stupid.
No, we are not.
Oh, I think we're too
Words
stupid.
have power.
Words have power.
We did not find it.
We did
that's
not
all.
find it. No,
That's
okay.
all. We didn't find the veggie
So we
tray.
had a cheese tray instead.
We did. And we got, yes.
We found the cheese tray.
We made an adjustment because life is full of adjustments. And speaking of adjustments, before we got to not finding the cheese tray or the veggie tray, you turn in and there's a big long
There's a road.
There's a road in there. It's not the regular road, but it's the road into BJ's.
It's not the parking lot. It's the road. It's an
get into-
off-road, yes.
Yes, and then you use that off-road, and then and there's a place where they have gas, and then we were not going for gas, we were going for veggie tray. But we just about hit the car who was in the not road as we came in because,
They were in the left-hand turn lane.
yeah.
Only they were stopped.
They were stopped. There were how many cars were there? 15?
Piled up, yeah. No.
Yeah, and it was just all congested in there. There wasn't honking, which was cool.
No honking, which was cool, yeah.
It could have been honking.
Then I might have noticed them.
Right, before.
Or I thought we were with geese.
Well, yeah, and you see the cars and you know that they're moving because why would they be stopped in the road kind of area? Anyway, they were. And so I mentioned to Dean, well, wow, wonder why they're doing that. And what did you say?
I said it's because they're trying to get gas. Oh, maybe I said it because they were idiots.
No, you did not say that.
Oh, what did I say?
You said because they are fearful.
Yes, they are fearful.
They weren't thinking about, they weren't encouraged. Well, they were encouraged to get gas, but it wasn't encouragement. It was out of fear. What were they afraid of?
They were afraid that the current, what would we call it, conflict between Russia and the Ukraine
Yes.
was going to cause there to be a shortage of gasoline in the United States.
They were
and that
thinking
the
that.
price of gasoline was going to go up a long, long ways.
So we've talked about the price of gas before, and you said to begin with that the price of gas would change every year. It does. It goes up higher, like in May.
Yeah.
And then with the some people are calling it a great pause, but with the COVID stuff, I like the great pause. With the great pause, gas prices went actually lower.
Oh, very low.
Because of the supply and demand. The supply was higher than the demand.
Yes.
And so there was, I lost what I was saying. So there was what? Explain it.
So the pressure was for the
Yes.
price to come down.
And so it did.
And it did, that's right. We weren't buying enough and the factories were making too much gasoline, and so they wanted the gasoline to be used.
So they kept lowering the price.
So the
until
price
people
came
would buy.
down so that we would use up the,
They
because
had
they
to go on those joyrides.
well they had decided how much gas to make long before COVID came into existence,
Exactly.
right? So they had
Their
already,
crystal ball wasn't working
it
well.
was broken. It missed COVID completely.
And that makes sense, doesn't it?
So commuting went away,
Yes, commuting went away.
and so gas usage went way down.
Yeah. And so with that,
The price fell to $2.
yeah, and so we got used to that. And even when
I like
this-
$2 gas.
I know, so do we.
Yeah.
I like it too. And then when spring came around the next year, prices didn't really go up that much.
No, we
Right?
still weren't allowed to drive. There
Okay.
weren't. I mean, oftentimes gas prices go up because you're being pushed off to. Well, because they stored up gasoline, and they'd actually stored up more gasoline than we were
Then the
using
market
down.
was going to be able to.
Yeah, than we'd used down, right? So they had prepared a year in advance for for what was normally going to happen, and what normally happened didn't.
And that's the first year. And the second year, they it was still low anyway.
It was still low because the
go up
inputs
high.
were low.
It did go up a little bit higher in the spring, even
Yeah.
still a little
Yeah.
bit, and people were complaining about that, which makes sense. I mean, we want things as inexpensive as possible, but we have to realize what's going on and not let fear take over. Okay, so now there's a fear factor coming in, and they're afraid that there's not going to be enough gas. Now, gas prices, they change the prices, but the prices of toilet paper, speaking of the great pause, and the toilet paper thing, is there a relationship to that? What's it saying? What's different?
Both. So, the shortage of toilet paper and the the current spike in gas prices right now have similar roots.
Right.
So,
Fear.
Right. Consumer fear.
Okay.
So on the one hand, you have, although the gas price isn't all consumer fear, so we have to talk that one through a little bit more.
But people getting in line like that.
People getting in
And
30
the
car
fi-
lines,
And the
yes.
50 and the 5-gallon containers that they're
Yeah, and
filling
the guys
up
with 5-gallon
and
containers.
spilling gas all over. So then when you pick it up, he
Yeah.
comes in and he smells like he's
I've been drinking
pumper.
gas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I gargle with it now.
Yeah, right.
Actually, my shoes just stomp in it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's even
Because they
like,
click it up to get it as full as possible, because an
Yeah.
extra 3 ounces of gas that you spill on the ground is going to drive you another 10 miles, I'm certain.
right. So it was.
It's folly.
It's a strange. We when we're not thinking clearly, we're not thinking clearly.
Right.
When we're thinking in fear, we're not being rational.
So when COVID was first announced here and spreading here, we as people became concerned. And one of the things that we decided, or that people decided, was that you need to stock up on certain items just in case you can't get to them. Toilet paper is one of the ones that oftentimes we stock up on. And so people started stocking up on toilet paper. Now, the difference between toilet paper and gasoline is that you can actually fill your basement with toilet paper.
That's right. You don't have to spill it all over your hands.
Technically you can fill your basement with gasoline too, but that's probably not the best choice.
Yeah,
Right,
because
but-
then how are you going to get it out? Besides, even if you have the 50-gallon barrels.
Right, so you can fill your basement with toilet paper, and so people early on went and just bought all the stock off the shelves, and paper companies,
They didn't know to have more.
well, and they're not stupid either.
Right.
Right, so paper companies are sitting there going, well, people are not actually going to wipe their bottoms more than they used to, right? That's not what we didn't all of a sudden get more bottoms, and so we're not going to.
Yeah, COVID didn't affect that.
COVID didn't affect the number of bottoms in the United States, and so a paper company, if it surged in production, it would end up just that excess production, although it would alleviate, would cause a problem later down the road, because they don't know when grandma and grandpa are going to start using up the stock of toilet paper that they now have in their basement. Right? And so if they can't sell toilet paper in the future, when we finally decided that there's not a problem with the number of bottoms in America, then the paper companies are going to have to store toilet paper. And toilet paper, as expensive as we think it is, storing it's a lot more expensive than the toilet paper's worth.
Right.
So the paper company's just not going to do that. So when some portion of the population decided to go out and fill their basements with toilet paper, that just meant the people that didn't go out and fill their basements with toilet paper weren't going to have any.
Right. Or it was going to be really hard to scavenge and find it.
Scavenge. And so the people who filled their bathrooms with it feel all smug. Fill their basements with it, they feel all smug. Look, I've got toilet paper and you guys don't. And the reason we don't is because your basement's full. It's not because you're using more of it. It's because you hoarded it. And so that's okay.
And so the price of toilet paper actually did go up.
A little bit, but not much, right? Because
Not much.
because here's the really cool thing. So we've got this disaster.
Oh, and they talk about gouging.
Price gouging, right? So if
There's laws against that?
yeah. So local laws get passed about price gouging, and so if I notice that everybody's buying toilet paper, one thing I can do is eventually I can say you can only buy one roll.
That's
And
right,
that's what they
that's what
finally
happened.
did,
Yeah,
right? They finally
exactly.
controlled it by saying, "Look, I got it. You've got a basement full. You can only buy one whole. You can only buy one more." It's just that's the way it is. So that's what they can do. They can't control it with price because they'll get prosecuted for for controlling the price. So they're not allowed to control the price.
And so the market can't do what it would naturally do.
So what the market would naturally do is they'd see grandma's buying a lot of toilet paper, so what would happen is the price of toilet paper would rise. It would double in price, maybe. And as the market for toilet paper doubled in price, grandma would decide, well, I don't need a whole basement full of toilet paper. I only need half a basement full of toilet paper. And then none of us would have had the problem. So if we would have let the price take care of it, grandma wouldn't have filled up her basement, and
people would have been, reason would have kicked in, or just
budget would have kicked in.
Exactly.
I mean, you could still be unreasonable. You just couldn't afford to be unreasonable.
Right. So how does that relate to the gas prices? The gas prices are going up. We've talked about two different reasons why that happens.
So we talked about what naturally happens
every spring.
And this year's kind of different, right? Because we've been ramping up our use of gasoline, as opposed, because COVID restrictions have been falling off. We're ramping up our use of gasoline earlier and earlier. So it's not like we're all going to go to grandma's. It's all of a sudden we have to commute to work again, right? And so that's going to put upward pressure. And the oil companies, the gasoline companies, didn't know when we were going to be able to go to work again. I mean, they made guesses. Right. They didn't know for sure, and they see the gasoline coming off the shelves, and so all of it out of the pumps, and so they have to raise the price in order to control the flow to match the flow. They aren't raising the price, but the supply and demand is causing the price to go up because.
Right, but it's causing the price to go up, which is different than the people selling toilet paper or gouging.
They weren't allowed to.
But gasoline is allowed to, because it has to happen every year.
Yeah.
And they know why it's happening.
So there will be price gouging. There will be looks into price gouging by certain gas stations and whatever it is. But as a general rule, we let the market rule gasoline, and we don't let the market rule grocery stores as much, right? It's just, I mean, we're more concerned about those things.
And the thing is, people would naturally, if the grocery stores were able to do that, they would naturally not go to the store that is not within their budget.
Yes.
Or they think they're being.
Yes.
They're gouging, so I'm going to not go.
I'll go to the other guy, right? I'll punish them.
As opposed to being legislated. Okay.
Right. It doesn't need to be legislated. It is legislated because people cry unfair, and if I'm a politician,
you want votes.
I want votes, and if I appeal to whatever your crazy of the day is, whatever your crazy of the day is, if I appeal to the crazy of the day, then you'll vote for me, and that's all I want is your vote, and so I will do that. I'm not protecting the people. I'm buying your vote.
So
by blaming somebody other than you.
Right. So today, So today we actually needed to get some gas, so we went and got some gas. And the lines were the same, and it was very interesting. And the price has gone up from almost $2 to $5 something.
So $4. It's at $4 now, which is kind of where I thought it would be in May, because that's kind of where we expect the price of gas to go.
But with the shock of
so that's the deal. So the thing is that as humans, when something when uncertainty springs up in front of us, we become cautious and
fearful, actually, right? Kind of cautious, fearful, whatever.
Cautious is my polite word.
You crazy? Okay.
Yeah, right. So cautious is so we become cautious, and so when we become cautious, we take precautions. Mm-hmm. And so precautiousness. I love it. Okay, so you have several things going on. One, you have the oil companies. And they're going, well, what do we do about Russian oil? Right?
Because we get a lot of Russian oil.
We don't. No. We actually do not get a lot of Russian oil. We do get some Russian oil. I'm not saying we don't get Russian oil. We don't get a lot of Russian oil. We get Mexican oil, we get American oil, and we get Canadian oil. We get a little bit of Russian oil. We probably get I don't know if we still get Venezuelan oil. Venezuela's weird. We probably get some Nigerian oil. But we don't get a lot of Russian oil. We get some Russian oil.
Even at that Lukoil or Lukoil?
So Lukoil is a franchise, it's a company that franchises like McDonald's does.
Okay.
So some of those Lukoils may actually be owned by the Russian mother company, but most of them are probably owned by franchise holders.
Oh, so Americans.
Or
whatever.
Whatever, right. They're owned by franchise holders. And they probably sell oil that is gasoline that's available in the United States, so it's not clear that they're selling Russian gasoline. But
Any
that's
more
okay.
than any other station.
Any other station,
Okay.
right?
All
Yeah.
right.
So, but that's just because of the structure of the company.
And they choose the oil or the gas that they purchase according to price, I
Well,
guess.
they probably have some restrictions on the quality and the grade and whatever it is to
Right.
meet the name brand, right? Like McDonald's can't
Right.
sell a franchise holder of McDonald's can't sell just any sandwich in their shop.
Right.
They have to right.
There
and
is
so,
a-
right.
there are
So,
guidelines.
so whatever the restrictions
company
are, they
does,
live
not the
by.
government. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever restrictions they have, they live by.
That's beautiful. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So that's the way Luke Oil works. Now, I suppose we could just decide, well, we're not going to buy Luke Oil because that's supporting Russia. And in a sense, yes, the franchise holder does pay some, right? So yes, it does support Russia in some ways, but you're really just putting an American out of business who,
Has opted to have a franchise.
yes, that's what you're actually doing.
Okay.
So you're not hurting. You're hurting Americans more than you're hurting Russians, but that's okay if
that makes
if it's the way you morally feel about it. I'm not telling you not to do it.
Right. Exactly. Be encouraged for goodwill.
Right.
And that starts with
Absolutely.
you. You've got to feel
Absolutely.
good about what you're doing.
But in the past week and a half, the price of gasoline has gone up probably 75 cents, maybe $1.
Okay.
Right, and that's an unusual jump. Right,
Right,
that's
for
an
this
unusual
time
jump, even especially for this time of year. Even in May, you're only expecting like a 35-cent or a 40-cent jump. Right, you're not looking at this 75-cent or $1 jump. This is a big jump.
So it makes sense that people might be fearful.
So,
if they
so,
don't
the,
understand
so the
what's
question
going
is,
on.
why is there that price jump, right? So, what is it that price jump if the market is being allowed to distribute the oil? Why did the price go up?
Yes. Why did it?
Okay, that's a good question,
Thank
and there's
you.
two sides of that question, right? Because in a market, there's
Supply,
and
demand.
okay, right. So there's two sides to that market.
Supply,
On the supply side,
Okay.
on the supply side, you have refineries or your gasoline producing companies that are concerned because they don't know whether Russian oil will be shut off and not pumped at all, right? So that's a
Right.
concern.
Right.
It's not a high concern, but it's a higher concern, right?
Right.
So
Because it's unstable there. Who knows?
right. So the worst outcome is Russia doesn't pump any more oil at all. And then
Goes away.
it goes away, it ceases to exist, and then the price of the remaining oil goes up to meet the many people begging to use it. Right? So that's a problem. So given that there's that concern, so you end up with the supply side trying to gain crude oil reserves for their factories, for their refineries, and so they're buying more than they would otherwise buy, pushing up the price of spot market oil.
Okay.
So they're pushing up that price of spot market oil. And so that price, given that price of spot market oil is being pushed up, that means the price of refined oil, the cost of producing refined oil, which is gasoline, is also going up. So there's a supply side pressure upwards on the price of gasoline just from the cost structure that's being implemented. Okay. There's another side of that now, right? So the other side of it is, why was there that big, huge, long line at the gas station? So you ask yourself, why is there that big, long line at the gas station when usually there isn't a big, long line at the gas station? And the answer is really simple. We're looking forward and we're seeing the potential. So what happens if I can't get gas next week? Now, it's a low probability, but now it's a higher probability than it was before.
Well, maybe people would just let you work from home again.
But the point is right. So because of that, we're going in and I've got 3/4 of a tank of gas, so I'm going to top off my tank. Every time I pass a gas station, I'm going to top off my tank, and
spill a bunch.
And spill a bunch on and put some in 5-gallon containers and that kind of stuff. So I'm buying more than I normally would. So you have the cost side raises a little bit, and on the demand side, I'm buying more than I usually would. And to be quite frank, a great to pull my sales all back into a week that I would have done across maybe a month is going to cause the price of gasoline in the short run to push upwards.
It's making a signal.
Right. It's a signal.
Sending a signal.
It's sending a signal. I don't have enough. I can't ship it to you fast enough. I can't whatever it is to you. It's not that I don't have it. It's that I can't ship it to you fast enough. And so to slow down the leakage that's going on, the price
Just a
gets
really
pushed
quick
up.
aside. Really quick aside. So the ships that are in the port, do they also have gas, or is that just another way?
So yes,
Okay.
but those ships don't have the same kind of problems that container and cargo ships have.
Okay.
Because they go to places that are made specifically for oil tankers.
Cool.
Right, so they don't go to the port of Los Angeles and offload. You don't need a crane operator.
Otherwise, we would have more of a problem.
Yeah, they go.
Oh, because they probably
Put a pipe into it. Yeah.
Okay, like siphon it out or something. Okay.
Yes,
Something.
they pump it out. Yes.
Maybe they don't siphon it. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
But they could siphon it too if they wanted to. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a potential. Don't think that's the way they do it, but they could.
Yes. Glad they don't, I guess.
So you end up with this. Both sides right now in this short period of time, both sides have this upward pressure on the price of gasoline, and so the price of gasoline is raising very quickly. Now, unless of course you're planning on driving further than you ever have before, you're not going to use more gasoline than you did, and so all you've done is generated these long lines and potential shortages in areas.
And so, there are places that they get gas. Say they get it from A, B, and C, and D. And D is now an issue because of what's going on. Okay, D is the Russian thing.
Russian oil.
A, B, C, and D. And so, you said something when I was talking to you about this earlier about a balloon.
Okay, so the deal is, let's think about this. That's a great question,
Thank you.
right? That's a great question. So let's say that Europe and North America decide they're not going to buy any Russian oil.
Right.
Okay, we decide we're not going to buy any Russian oil.
I mean, right now, because they do have it.
Yeah,
right now, they do have it.
Yeah, but let's just say
It's
we
not that
decide
they don't have it.
Yes,
It's just that we're nervous.
Let's just say we decide not to. Right? So we decide not to buy Russian oil. Well, does that mean there's less oil?
That means we're choosing to get it from fewer places.
Yes, that's exactly right.
But there isn't less oil.
There is not less oil.
Because
if
their
somebody
place hasn't been blown up. So
if
it's
somebody
still
blows
good.
their place up, then there's less oil.
Okay.
Right? But short of somebody blowing their place up, there's not less oil. And so the West, us, chooses not to buy Russian oil.
Okay.
Well, Russia used to sell it to Europe and used to sell it to us and used to sell it to wherever they sold it. And so now they need to sell it. So what do they do to the price?
They're going to lower the price.
They'll lower the price of their oil. And if they lower the price of their oil, the Chinese will buy it.
Right. And so wherever the Chinese is getting it from now will be available for us or Europe to get.
Exactly. It's like squeezing a balloon, right? All you do is squeeze the air out of one place, but it moves to another. It's not that the air ceases to be in the balloon.
I like that.
All it does is move. And so the
It
price
takes a
goes
while to get
down.
there, though, right? It's not immediate.
Yeah. The price goes down. I don't know why if China isn't buying Russian oil right now, the question is why isn't it? And maybe it's because it gets it cheaper from somewhere else.
Right.
So now the price of Russian oil falls down to where it's cheaper for China to buy it. So China will.
So at some point,
And then we'll buy oil from that place where China used to buy it from, but we didn't buy it from them before because it was more expensive for us to buy it.
right? But
So now the price of oil that we get will be more expensive due to the fact that it has to be shipped from Iran,
right.
which is further away than...
That makes sense, and it's
Yeah.
not unreasonable.
No, but it's not that oil is running out or going away. It's just that if you decide, so for us, so for example, just down the hill, there's a grocery store, very close grocery store. We don't tend to use that grocery store.
No, we don't.
And it'd be cheaper to use it because the shipping costs going to that grocery store is, but we tend to, we go to the grocery stores that we like, right? And so the fact that we don't go to that grocery store doesn't mean there's less food in the world.
And it's more a habit than anything.
And it's same thing with these oil contracts and this.
Right.
this supply chain is habitual.
Yeah. And so that might be useful for somebody. We hope it encourages you not to feel fearful if you were feeling fearful. And as far as the prices go, they've gone up to 4 or something, and they're not going to go up to 10.
No. If I was Europe, I recognize that the oil and gas that I need to purchase is going to be much more expensive because it's got to be shipped. So if I choose not to buy it from Russia, the stuff that I replace it with, it's not that there isn't stuff, but the stuff that I replace it with is going to be much more expensive to purchase on the wholesale side.
Right.
They're not buying from Russia because they love Russia. They're buying from Russia because Russia is close and low price.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for as much shipping.
That's right.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to me, and it doesn't always make sense to me, so I feel pretty good today. I'm not feeling totally confused. So we want to thank you for joining us, and we really do hope that this has been informative and encouraging and give you a little bit of peace of mind about what is going on. Now, this has nothing to do with the terrible things that are happening, other than their effect on what's going on in the gasoline arena.
Yes.
Right?
That's all.
All right.
Yep.
How did we do?
I think we did fine.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah D.
I'm Dr. D. Namaste.
Make it a great day.